Hey, welcome back to Old Toolmate. This we looked at in an early video. This is the 2.5 amp hour battery with the impact driver. Really great tool, great for traveling. Obviously you'll need some sockets set with it. Here's a simple little socket that I use with it. But in the video where I reviewed that, I showed this torque wrench. This is the cheapest torque wrench I could find in a shop near me. I can probably get a cheaper one online, but this was available for me to drive down the road and buy. It's a great tool. It's not overly large. If you're traveling, about 200 millimeters, 10 inches, about 2 inches wide. It weighs about 2 kilograms. So in a whole scheme of things, it's not really that difficult to carry, and it comes with the extension bar, it comes with the sockets, and it also comes with a reducing driver if you've got smaller sockets. So about 2 kilos, a small package. It's probably the ultimate peace of mind tool that you can have. You get a flat tire in the middle of nowhere, the last thing you want to do is wheel falling off 2 k's down the road or 1,000 miles down the road. So this comes with all the bits, the sockets that are standard for most car tires or wheels, but you may have to get your own. The socket set itself is quite a long one. It makes for fantastic levering. It's got the graduations on it, foot-pounds on one side, Newton meters on the other. You don't need to know what all that means. You just find the number you need and set it for your number. You just by cranking the handle and checking the vernier calipers there. Really simple, really easy to read, have a look at, set it up. Once you've got it to the right measurement there, I'm setting mine to about 100 for this demonstration. You simply lock it off at the end. Simple as that. That is now set for use later on. This is probably the one thing that will give you peace of mind. You have to put a wheel on in the middle of nowhere and it's 300, 400 miles to the next town. That's what you need. There are other versions. This one here converts any socket drive or any wrench with a 1/4 inch drive, 1/2 inch drive to a torque wrench. It's a lot smaller, it's a lot lighter, easier to carry. It does have a battery. It gives you a little bit more flexibility, but this cost me $70, whereas the torque wrench I showed you before, I paid $30 for it. At the moment I think you can get it for about $45, but they're on special all the time. So if you want the smaller one like that, that's easy to keep. By all means use that one. If you find the digital readout easy to read, then try that one. We're going to be having a look mainly at this one today, but let's get started with both of them. You can see here this has a digital readout, and you can simply push the button to move it up. One click at a time moves it up one segment at a time, or if you push and hold, it moves rapidly up and down the scale. Once you've set it to the desired torque, that is all you need to do is set it so you can do fast adjustments by holding, fine adjustments by just tapping. So you can set and forget it. Once it's set, it'll say set at that for the entire time you're using it. It will require a battery. I am not sure how long the battery will last. It probably lasts years because it's quite a smaller thing, and it gives you a nice audible beep when it's getting near and a long beep when it's finished. There are heaps of different types of torque wrenches, from a couple of $100 down to $70. The one I've bought currently sells for $50. I got it for $30. They're on special quite a bit. The black is the tyre, the blue is the wheel, that's rim of the wheel, the green are the wheel nuts. If you look at the cross-sectional view, you can see the wheel stud in red and the green bolts. So the bolts have that little 45-degree bit that fits into a 45-degree bevel inside of the wheel, and this helps it locate because the wheel stud is skinnier than the hole in the wheel. That's necessary, otherwise you would never get your wheel back on the car. It's hard enough to lift up and locate in the first place. So that little bevel actually lifts and locates and centers the wheel so it's in the right place. So if I just on the wheel view make the green wheel nuts invisible, so you can see this, the wheel studs are in the middle of the holes. They're not touching the holes anywhere. It is the wheel nut with that little bevel that is doing it. As soon as we take the wheel nut off, so I've undone the wheel nut, it's come off the stud. Okay, it's still on the stud, but it's not holding the wheel anymore. Once I do that to all the wheel nuts, then the wheel drops down, so it's now resting on the wheel stud. It's only a few millimeters, but it's now no longer in the middle, and it's not holding on. It's moved off the hub a little bit as well. So that's what happens when you undo a wheel nut. and why those little bevels are so important. Keep them clean, but it also means that if you tend to start doing it up, especially with the top nut, it's most definitely going to be hanging off the one on the top, and we often start there. Do that one up finger tight, and you'll see that it'll join here, it'll pinch, and it may feel firm, and sometimes the wheel's quite heavy and hard to move, so you can actually tighten that up thinking you've actually tightened the wheel up, but you haven't lifted it. So it's better to start from the side ones, because they'll have a bit more chance of only lifting half the wheel up or locating it, and this is the reason we do opposites, go around the wheel doing the opposites, and go around it a second time, in case it might be the third nut that you do up that lifts the wheel that little bit, locates in the center, and then the other wheel nuts will be loose. So that's always important, that while we work around the wheel, going opposites, and then go around the wheel, making sure they're all tight at the actual manufacturer's recommended torque settings. So once we've done that, this gap should disappear and the wheel should be fixed up and as it was originally with everything in the middle. So that's the theory, so let's see it in practice. So that's why it's important that we have the right torque settings, not to over tighten it. So here's the nut I took off earlier. Have a container, best not to let them roll around the floor. You see here, I'm going to undo it. So this is the Ozito 18 volt impact driver, works quite well. You'll see here, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Just give it a chance. The impact is driving around, tapping the bolt each time, and it will loosen it off and it will undo it. This will easily do one wheel or two wheels, take all the nuts off and put them back on. But sometimes, like this one here, a little bit tight. So I just had to stop, start it again, and have a bit of patience, and eventually it'll spin free. If it doesn't spin free, move on to another one and come back to it. So that took 2 goes for it to come off. Nothing's being burnt, nothing's being overdone. So we continue on to the next. Undo that one. So once again, a bit of patience. It's a lot easier using this than it is trying to do it. We're levering on a big crowbar, trying to break it on the side of the road when it's dirty. Have patience, have a rest, take your time. And eventually all the wheels come off, or all the nuts come off the wheel. Now that we've got that, you can see that the wheel is actually loose. Car's jacked up, so I've got no problem there. As I said in the video, it's normally hanging on the first one. So I'm going to put the first one on just finger tight. That way the wheel's not going to fall off. So it's a little bit hard because it's kind of hanging on an angle. You know what it's like when you first hook the wheel on. You can see here it's all loose, all wobbly. But it is now held on so that that wheel can't fall off. So now I'm going to put some of the other wheel nuts on. Well, in fact, at this point, it's easy to go around and put all the wheel nuts on. So take your time. Remember, chances are this doesn't happen in your nice, neat, clean garage. This is the side of the road. There is dust, sand and dirt everywhere. So 2 wheel nuts are on, finger tight. They're nowhere near tight. The wheel can move around anywhere. It's resting on those wheel nuts, as I said, but it's not going anywhere. You can take your time. Keeping your nuts in the container off the ground has helped, but it's a good idea to give those bevels a little bit of a wipe. Make sure they're clean, that no dust has collected on them. You might get a build-up of dust on one side and it's not going to seat very well. So it's nice to have a little look at them and make sure that that's all good, and you've got a nice, shiny, smooth surface on that 45. Now, if you use the impact driver or even the hand wheel brace to try and get it started, you've got to be careful because there could be a bit of dirt, a bit of grime, or you could have actually got it on cross-threaded because it's been quite a hot day and you're trying to lift the wheel up. So always you can see here I'm spinning these nuts, making sure they're turning a good few threads on. They're not just sitting on and bitten up. I can actually turn those threads quite easily, not having to do it hard. It's nice and easy. So they're all loose. Nothing's been tightened up. The wheel is sitting on the actual wheel studs, so it's not located in the middle. But all those nuts have been turned a couple of turns easily by hand, so it's time to start tightening it up. If I use my hammer or my impact wrench, start opposite. So I've started the bottom one there and gone across the opposite one. You can see it's tight now, it's no longer rattling. Back to opposite, bottom to top, and then I move across the side ones here. I'm not overly hammering them too tight. You can see the wheel's nice and tight there. Let's just go around one more time, just in case something's moved. The wheel may have seated itself properly. You don't want to overdo it too much. The beauty of these 18-volt batteries is they're not that tight. So now let's have a listen to this. Oh, apart from if you set it the wrong way and you loosen the wheel. Let's put that back on and tighten it up the right way. Oh well, we all make these mistakes. Let's get it up now, tighten it up. So this one will have a bit of extra turn on it. And there we go, a nice loud clunk. You see the rest of these don't need much. The rule would lie out positive click. You can't miss it. It's quite simple, quite easy to tell when it's done. It's a nice long, for the price, it's a nice long heavy wrench, torque wrench, so it makes it really easy to get to that torque. I'm doing this one-handed and make easy just leaning down. Now I've done diagonals again, and I'm just going around a second time, making sure that it's at the set. And that's how simple it is. I've done each one twice just to make sure I haven't missed one or the wheel hasn't moved as it centered itself. Here's the digital one. At the moment, I'm just going to take one off. I'm using this on the scanning mode where it tells me what the maximum torque was. So I've looked there. It's telling me 95 Newton meters. I set the torque wrench to 100, so that's about 5% off. That's not bad. If I just now change it to tightening up, so I'm setting it to 100 again, as I had the other one set to. Now, if you listen here, it's very easy. So I'm just using a normal breaker bar here. You hear a noise. Let me just do that again. So this isn't a ratchet, this is a breaker bar, so I'll get a nice location. You can hear that noise. Sorry I didn't hold it. That's actually only 85 Newton meters. Because that first noise is simply telling you you're getting near. So let me do it all the way this time. And there's a long, long beep. There it is again, telling you that you've reached it. In actual fact, the digital readout will give you the measurement it ended up at. It's saying 103. There's what it ended up. I set it up for 100, but because I put a little bit extra on.